I'm gonna show you how you can make a trunk for your scooter, especially if the cheap plastic trunk that it came with fell apart. This one here is about 4 years old, but I'm gonna go ahead and rebuild it because the wood is worn out. That's the top there, it's all broken. And I will give you all the measurements to build it. This is big enough to fit your helmet inside and some other stuff. And then when you take the helmet out and you're riding it, you got plenty of room in here where you can put some groceries or whatever else you want to put in here. Here are the measurements. This part here is the right side. It is a little bit more than 12 inches tall, and it is 15.5 inches long. The back of the trunk is at least 12 inches tall. Because see, you got the piece of the plywood for the bottom of the trunk. This is the left side of the trunk. Left side of the trunk, 12 inches high. And $15 inches long. This trunk is 15 inches long and 15 inches wide and 12 inches high. And that gives you enough space to fit one of your helmets inside the trunk when you're not using the bike. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the new pieces of wood. I'm not going to show all that, but then I will show you how to put together the new trunk. Before I do that, let me do the measurements for the floor of the trunk. And this trunk lasted about 4 years. The wood actually isn't rotten, but I don't know what you would call it, but the wood is cracked all over the place and it's just really brittle and dry. So I'm rebuilding it. I'm going to start here. The floor is 16 inches long. Wait, no. Yeah, the floor of the trunk is 16 inches long and about 15 3/4 wide. After you get all the pieces cut out, put little nails in the wood to help hold the pieces together so you can drill the holes and put the screws in. Put 3 nails here. On the other side, put 3 nails as well. Now you just start putting the pieces on, but before you do that, you want to get some kind of a silicone or sealant and run it across right here where the piece of plywood are going to press down on here, and go all the way around with it before you start putting the pieces on. Go around it with your sealant. Not have to put a lot. The silicone I put on this thing the last time was actually holding the plywood together pretty good after 4 years. A little tricky to get it around the nails, but you want to put this down to keep any water out of here from getting in and rotting the wood. This part's the back. Line it up the best you can, and then just push it down. You can hammer it a little bit if you have to. The nails aren't gonna hold this, they're just there to keep the wood in place so that you can put the screws in. Press it down firmly. Make sure that sealant, and like here's a little gap, you can go back over that later and put the sealant in there. It's actually a pretty big gap here because, like I said, the wood was thicker than the last time, so when this is done you can just go over that and cut that off to even it out. Not a big deal. This is the back of the trunk. This is the left side here. Go ahead and put this one on. Line it up the best you can. This wood's not perfect, so it's gonna be a little crooked. So you get, like in here, you have to fill that in with sealer. Because even though I marked it with the lines, it didn't cut perfect. This is the back piece. Ah, great. And the nail over here bent, didn't work. Oh, I think I got it to work, even though the nail bent. Now the final piece. And the top I just replaced a few months ago, so I didn't cut out a new piece of wood for that. That's still fairly new. Here's the right side. Now see, like I said, it doesn't line up right because of the difference in wood size. Actually, I'm gonna have to take this one and go cut it a little shorter. See how the saw screwed this up right here? Now I got a chance to cut some of that off. So I'll go ahead and mark it here so I know where to cut it at. Here's what it looks like nailed together. After I used the 6 nails, I went around and put some more nails, like in here, to help hold it all together. About ready to put the screws in. First, before you put the screws, you want to drill the holes to avoid splitting the wood. Here's the top that I made recently, so I'm not replacing it. It's got a little lock in it. I didn't attach the hinge yet, I just bought a regular door hinge from Home Depot. You can still see part of the old wood screwed into it. That's just going to be screwed in right here, just like it was on the old trunk. And then it's going to close like that and lock. You can put your helmet in there, whatever else you want. There's the inside. There's the inside of the old trunk where the lock goes. I installed this piece of plywood here. 2 bolts, this little plate here, and this is where the little lock actually slides in to lock. I'm going to be using the old screws again. Nice and long, gives it some strength. The trick when you want to drill a hole, you want to get a drill bit that's slightly smaller than the screw, because if you use the same size, then there won't be as much wood for the threads to grab onto. So this one, it looks like it's a little smaller. The threads look like they're a little wider. So this is what I'm going to use. And you're going to want to, this is up to you, you're going to want to put at least 2 screws on each corner. Put 2, one here, and you can put one in the middle if you want to. And then the same thing on the bottom. You have to run screws like this through the bottom. You don't want to put the drill bit on it like this, give you an idea. You want to get it as center as you can. So basically you want the screw to run through like that. If you can find smaller screws that are pretty long, then go ahead. It'll be less stress on the wood. Get this as center as you can, then you just carefully turn the drill on and let it go slow to start to drill a hole so that it doesn't go all over the place and you lose your center point. Like that, and then drill out the hole. Now since these screws are pretty long, go as far in as you can. You're gonna have to pull it out to get the. You're gonna have to pull it out once in a while to get the excess wood out, so you can drill further in. That's it. Get your screw. If you want to use your drill, you can. I'd just rather do this instead of taking the. I'd rather use a screwdriver instead of taking out drill bit and all that every time. Or if you got two drills or a screw gun or whatever, you can have your Phillips head on that. Get it pretty snug but not too tight. You don't want to strip it out. And that's it for the screw part. Just go all the way around it and put in 2 or 3 screws on each corner and the bottom, or however you want to do it. And then once I'm done with that, I'll come back. As you're installing the screws, if you have big gaps like this, go ahead and squirt your sealer in there before you tighten up the screw and the wood meshes together. So that way you get a better seal. You have to cut this out a little bit right here so that the hinge will fit. See? So that fits in there. The last time I did this, I had the hinge on the inside, but this time I had to put the hinge on the outside because the lock was outside over here. Because of course when you cut everything, it doesn't match 100% because I'm using a different thickness wood. See? It's on the outside here. It's on the outside. It's not a big deal. You can sand this down and everything. We're going to paint this. Sand these down too up here. See? But it opens up pretty good. And now it actually stays open. Before it wouldn't stay open. It would only open to like here, and then it would do that and close. Next thing you got to do is after you install the lock, it's not hard. You just drill a hole. Then right there, you put a little screw in there with this plate, so that way somebody can't put something in there and twist the lock easily. When you put the hinge in on the top on the door, you have to put a piece of wood here to give it a little space, and then cut it here so that it bypasses here, so that it'll close. When you do the lock, put your key in there so that you can turn the lock. Get a little bit of paint, doesn't matter what color. Put it on the lock latch right there. Close it up. Push it down if you have to. Turn the key until turn the key until the latch hits the wood. Take it out. Open it up. And you can see right there where the paint is, that's where you have to cut out a little slit in the wood so that the lock will slide into there to lock the door. I forgot to give you the measurement for the top of the trunk. So here it is. The trunk is 16¼ inch wide. And the trunk is a little more and the top is a little more than 16½ inches long. In order to attach this to the bike, you're gonna attach it where the old trunk used to be, using these mending plates. One of these will be inside the trunk on the wood, acting like a washer, and the other one will come under here like that, and then the bolts will run through and connect it to the bike. Drill your first hole here, so when you go inside the trunk you'll know where to drill the other holes at. After you drill the first hole, make sure your bolt will fit through. If not, use a bigger drill bit, but not too big. This is a tight fit, but it'll work. There's a little bit of space here. You want to try to center it, so that's pretty much where you want it. So then you're going to take your first bolt, push it through like that, and now you can drill out these 3 other holes. Now you know where to drill them out at. You can just put the drill bit right here. Bam, bam, bam. Drill out these other 3 holes and pop the bolts in. Put the other 3 bolts in. This mending plate is going to go on here like this. Like that. And then the nuts will hold them together, and the trunk won't be able to pop off the bike. Make sure that you use stop nuts so that there's no risk of these nuts vibrating loose and then your trunk flying off when you're driving, because that's dangerous. Use stop nuts, and you can even put thread locker on them too. Here's what it looks like with the nuts hand tight, the stop nuts. There's not really any way for me to show you this at the same time, but you have to go with these. You have to go inside the trunk with a Phillips screwdriver and hold the bolt to keep it from turning, and then you come underneath with a socket and you just snug these up. And then after that, the trunk will be installed. Hold the screwdriver here, then come underneath and use your socket to tighten it up. Here are the nuts snugged up. You don't want to make them too tight, especially these two, because it'll start to pull the bar in. This bar is not, even though it's steel, it's not very strong. It will bend if you tighten these too much. You just want to kind of try to tighten them up evenly. And that's it. And then this will hold your trunk on here. As long as this thing doesn't break for some reason, then your trunk's not going anywhere, because the old one was on this bike for like 4 years with no issues. I just rebuilt it because the wood was wasn't rotten, but it was just getting like brittle and dried out. Now I found this spray can stuff for the trunk that's supposed to make the wood waterproof, so hopefully this will make it last longer. There's the inside, you can see, with the 4 bolts and that plate. Oh, this trunk's not going anywhere. It is going to be a little wobbly. That's normal, but it's not going to go anywhere. The other trunk was wobbly too. There's what it looks like. That's what the trunk looks like on the bike. And there's enough room in there to put a full face helmet inside. There's actually still a little bit of room there. You can close it up and lock it. Keep your helmet in there when you're not using the bike. Then when you want to use the bike, take the helmet out, and then you can put whatever you want to put in there. Like if you're going to work or something, you could put your lunch in there, or go to the store, you can put some groceries or some bags in there from the store. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you have any questions.